As part to get more audience research into our film once it had been finished, we wanted to kind of widen our kind of ideas and see how we could interact social networking to help us get feedback on our film. So as a group, what we did, we just sent out a message to a group, I think it was 21 friends on Facebook in a message, and we just basically asked them to, we put our link of our film in there from YouTube, and we asked them to watch it, and then afterwards we just put a comment saying, if you could you please take the time to watch this and quote 1 to 3 or maybe more things you didn't like and maybe a couple of things you didn't like on the film, and post it back to us in the group message. So here are some of the responses that we got. Mostly the feedback we got was really positive because a lot of people said they liked the use of the camera angles and the storyline they felt was really understandable, which is kind of the main thing. We wanted to make sure that it made sense because with a lot of film noirs they don't particularly make sense, but then the enigma codes help, but we want to have enigma codes and make sure the storyline and characters are relatable. So the first person was Daryl Meadows, and he is 17 years old. He said that he really enjoyed overall watching it. The storyline was good and he likes the way it went into more detail, and also how you're left guessing why Jake is invited out and then suddenly told to go away by the character of Scarlett. Uses a lot of enigma codes, and there's really effective shots, and the use of focusing and defocusing of the camera makes it look professional. And he said the music tied in really well, which reflects what you're thinking as an audience member, and the acting is really good. And he actually couldn't think of many bad things to say, but if he did, he said maybe the car that Rosie gets into when she leaves the pub could be a bit quieter, and the reflection on the window and the phone makes it kind of a bit difficult to see in the opening credit bit. But overall, so he was very positive with the review that we got. The next person was Hannah, and she's 17. She said that she really liked the use of the camera shots that we use. It intrigued the characters and storyline. She felt the lighting was really effective, as well as the music choices. But she said a couple of things, if she had to pick out, that would be the first interaction between Jake, Rosie and Dom could have been extended to be a bit more explained for the story and the characters of them. And the image of Rosie and her dad behind the window when Jake is watching outside his house could have been a bit clearer. But overall, she said she really enjoyed it. And the next person is Olivia, and she's 18 years old. She liked the way that Jake's character's background and family is introduced in the start through the voiceover and flashbacks, as it sets the scene nicely and it's a nice flow into the rest of the film, which is repeated as there's flashbacks and continuous theme throughout. She liked the use of multiple locations. She thought that it added more to the story, made it more realistic and interesting. And she specifically liked the scene outside Rosie's house when Jake's character realised that Scarlett's dad was the murderer, and she felt the emotions portrayed really well and very realistic, and allowed the audience to feel a connection to the characters, and it included a great twist towards the storyline. She also thought the camera angles were nice, and showing Rosie's dad arguing in the window worked well. The one negative thing that she pointed out was that she didn't really think the scene where Dom's character pushed Jake's character up against the lockers added much to the story, but overall she felt it was a really great piece. The next person is Amber, and she's 18 years old. She said that she really liked how we changed it from a modern day and not traditional 1940s or 1950s film. She liked the way we used a range of different shots and the way they looked really effective and professional. She said she particularly liked the shot of Scarlett walking back through the pub door to leave, as it was a typical convention of a film noir with the use of mirrors and reflections. But she liked how we challenged the typical conventions also. She said she really enjoyed this storyline as it was very believable, and she loved the twist at the end. She liked how she included the voiceover to make the audience more aware of the storyline, and she said the one thing that she could pick out on was that maybe be more careful with the violence that we use, but overall she said it was amazing, which is a really good comment. And finally, the last person is Alex, and she's 21 years old. She said that she really liked the wide variety of camera shots and angles that we used, as she felt it made it look really effective and it kept the audience interested. She felt there was a really good and easily understandable storyline, which she understood straight away from the opening credits. She said that the relationship between the characters were played out really well, and all of their connections were clear and relatable to everyday relationships that we see. She said the ending took her completely by surprise, which made it a more gripping film, and it had a big element of suspense and tension as it built up to the ending. There wasn't many things she said she could pick out at fault, but she said if there was one thing she'd pick out, it would be the lighting, and some areas could have been used more effectively, but other than that, it was fine. So overall, I think this actually really helped us into our audience research and just getting feedback on our films. I like the way there was a mixture of different positive and negative feedback, because it helps us to kind of better ourselves when perhaps making another film. But overall, the feedback was very positive, and the majority of them said about the good use of camera angles, shots and movements, which is a major point they wanted to focus on to emphasise the characters. The use of subtle enigma codes that we use, which we wanted to use as our key convention of film noir, so it was something we desperately wanted to include in our film. And I think some of the points about that were more negative, such as the scene when Dom pushes Rosie against the lockers and stuff, is kind of quite fair, because when you do watch it, I think at first you don't really make sense, but then after you finish watching it and you think back on what you've seen, it does kind of make more sense. So I think that's very fair comments. And I really like the comment from Alex at the end that said about it, the relationships in the film linking back to ones that you see in everyday life, as they're very realistic, because it's a good way of showing that we did actually kind of link to current affairs and kind of everyday life, as like in high school and with relationships at home between daughters and their dads, and obviously sons and their dads. So I think that's a really good point that I've taken away. But overall, I'm really pleased with the feedback we've got, and I think it's going to help us as a group majorly.